There's something different about people who waited weeks between TV episodes. Maybe it's the way they can sit with uncertainty without spiraling. Maybe it's how they find satisfaction in anticipation itself. Maybe it's that they understand patience isn't passive, it's a skill. Because waiting for television didn't just teach delayed gratification. It forged a specific type of psychological resilience that experts are only now beginning to understand. And by the end of this video, you're going to see why weekly television schedules created some of the most emotionally regulated people alive today. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong. Modern culture claims instant access improves our lives, that convenience equals happiness. But people who waited for their favorite shows prove that theory dead wrong. Picture yourself as a 12-year-old on a Thursday night in 1994. The final moments of your favorite show flash across the screen. The protagonist stands at a crossroads. Will they confess their feelings or walk away forever? The music swells. The camera zooms in on their conflicted face. And then, just as they open their mouth to speak, the screen cuts to black. To be continued. The words mock you. 7 days. You have to wait 7 entire days to know what happens next. No internet to spoil it. No way to skip ahead. Just you, your imagination, and 168 hours of wondering. Your mind races with possibilities as the credits roll. You replay every detail, analyzing each facial expression, each word choice. The uncertainty sits in your chest like a physical thing, uncomfortable but somehow electric. This is anticipation in its purest form before instant gratification became a human right. Picture this. September 1989. Thursday night at 8 p.m. You're 10 years old, and your entire family has gathered in the living room. Not because someone organized it, because this is when your show airs. You've arranged your homework around it. Your parents have scheduled dinner earlier. Your siblings have negotiated bathroom breaks. The phone might ring. It probably will, but nobody will answer it. For the next 60 minutes, your household has a singular focus. You're watching the season premiere together, and the room crackles with shared excitement. Your dad makes his usual jokes during the opening credits. Your mom shushes everyone when the plot gets intense. You and your sister exchange glances during the emotional scenes, communicating without words. This wasn't just entertainment, it was ritual. You learned to prioritize, to create space for what mattered, to be present. Here's what's remarkable. Your brain was building neural pathways for commitment and follow-through. Each week you showed up, you reinforced that some things are worth protecting in your schedule. Psychologists call this temporal scaffolding, creating structure through repeated time-bound events. But for weekly TV watchers, it was just Thursday nights. Today's viewers scroll through infinite options, paralyzed by choice, never committing to anything. They start shows and abandon them halfway through because nothing demands their presence. But you learned that showing up, week after week, creates meaning. This wasn't passivity, it was dedication. Picture this, Friday morning in the school hallway. You're 13, and the first thing you ask your best friend is, "Did you see it?" You both did. Everyone did. For the next 10 minutes, you dissect every moment of last night's episode. The shocking twist, the romantic moment, the cliffhanger ending. Someone joins your conversation, then another person. Suddenly 6 of you are huddled together, voices overlapping, each person adding their interpretation. The debate gets heated. Your friend insists the villain is actually good. You argue the opposite. Nobody can prove anything because there's no way to rewatch the scene. You're working from memory, from feeling, from collective analysis. This wasn't just conversation. It was collaborative meaning-making. You learned to articulate your thoughts, defend your interpretations, consider perspectives different from your own. Here's what's remarkable. You were developing social intelligence in real time. Each discussion required active listening, persuasive reasoning, and emotional attunement to group dynamics. Neuroscientists call this distributed cognition, thinking that happens between people, not just inside individual minds. But for you, it was just what Fridays felt like. Modern viewers experience shows in isolation, then read strangers' opinions online. They consume takeaways instead of creating them. But you built ideas together, face to face, with people whose reactions you could read. This wasn't small talk. It was social architecture. Consider the summer of 1907. Your favorite show has been cancelled, not moved to a different network, not picked up by a streaming service, just ended, gone. You learn about it from a magazine article or a news segment. There's no fan campaign that can save it, no algorithm that might recommend it back into existence. The actors have moved on. The sets have been dismantled. The stories you were invested in will never resolve. You'll never know how it was supposed to end. That character you loved, you'll never see them again. You feel the loss in your chest, real and heavy. Your parents don't quite understand why you're upset. It's just a TV show, they say. But it's not just anything. It's been part of your weekly routine for years. This wasn't drama, it was grief. You learned that loving something means risking loss, that investment carries real emotional weight, that endings aren't always fair or satisfying. Here's what's extraordinary. Your brain was learning frustration tolerance, the ability to metabolize disappointment without catastrophizing. Psychologists call this emotional self-regulation through graduated exposure. But for you, it was just the ache of a show that ended too soon. Research suggests early experiences with manageable loss build resilience for larger losses later. You learned the world doesn't owe you closure. Modern viewers expect their favorite shows to continue indefinitely, available forever in digital archives. They rage when series end, demanding alternative endings, refusing to accept creative decisions. But you learn to let go. This wasn't acceptance, it was maturity. Picture this. A Tuesday afternoon in 1993. You're 11, and you need to record tomorrow's episode because you'll be at soccer practice. You're standing in front of the VCR, programming it manually. You need to set the correct channel, the start time, the duration. One wrong number and you'll miss it entirely. There's no automatic guide, no smart technology to correct your mistakes. You write down the settings on a piece of paper, double-checking each one. Channel 7, 80 Hoja PM, 60 minutes. The small red light better be blinking when you leave tomorrow. You've failed before, come home to find you recorded 3 hours of static because you set PM instead of AM. The stakes feel enormous. This is your responsibility. Nobody else is going to do it for you. This wasn't just television. It was practical problem solving. You learned to plan ahead, to think through sequential steps, to accept consequences when you failed. Here's what's remarkable. You were building executive function, the cognitive skills that govern planning, attention, and task completion. Experts recognize that early exposure to manageable responsibilities develops competence. But for VCR programmers, it was just survival. Each successful recording reinforced your capacity to handle complex, time-sensitive tasks. Modern viewers press a button and entire seasons download automatically. They never experience the satisfaction of successful planning or the learning that comes from failure. This wasn't convenience, it was competence building. Picture this. Wednesday morning in 1991. You're 9 years old, sitting in the back of the school bus. Last night's episode ended with a massive cliffhanger, the hero trapped, the villain victorious, everything looking hopeless. You won't find out what happens for 7 days, so your mind fills the gap. You imagine elaborate rescue scenarios. You picture dialogue, plot twists, emotional reunions. Some of your ideas are better than what the writers will actually do. Some are ridiculous. All of them are yours. You and your friends spend the entire bus ride trading theories, building on each other's ideas, creating alternative storylines. By the time the next episode airs, you've mentally written a dozen different versions. The anticipation has expanded the story beyond its runtime. This wasn't boredom, it was creativity. You learned to generate possibilities, to hold multiple narratives simultaneously, to find satisfaction in the space between knowing and not knowing. Here's what's remarkable: your default mode network, the brain system responsible for imagination and future planning, was getting constant exercise. Neuroscientists call this constructive internal reflection. But for weekly viewers, it was just how you spent the time between episodes. Research suggests that imagination requires empty space, boredom, waiting gaps. You weren't filling every moment with content, you were thinking. Modern viewers binge entire seasons in a weekend, eliminating all space for imagination. They move from episode to episode without pause, consuming rather than creating. But you learn that the gap between installments isn't empty. This wasn't waiting, it was world building. Picture this. Spring 1995. 2 of your favorite shows air at the same time on different channels. Thursday at 8 p.m. You have to choose. Your family only has one television, and even if you could record one show, the VCR is broken this week. The decision feels impossible. You love both shows equally. You've been following both storylines for months. Your friends are divided, some will watch one, some the other. Tomorrow's conversation will split along these lines. You'll miss half the references. You agonize over it for days. Eventually, you make a choice. You commit. You accept that you'll miss the other show, maybe forever, since reruns are unpredictable. You feel the weight of real consequence. This isn't a problem you can solve. It's a limitation you have to accept. This wasn't deprivation. It was trade-offs. You learn that choices have costs, that you can't have everything. That constraint forces prioritization. Here's what's remarkable: your brain was developing decision-making capacity under resource scarcity, a skill that transfers to every area of adult life. Psychologists call this opportunity cost awareness. But for single, TV households, it was just Thursday nights. Experts recognize that early experiences with limitation build better judgment than environments of endless abundance. Modern viewers record everything, stream everything, keep everything in permanent archives. They never experience the clarifying power of forced choice. This wasn't sacrifice, it was value formation. Consider a Monday in 1998. The season final aired last night. You missed it. Your grandmother was visiting, or you had a school event, or your parents said no. Today you have to navigate school without learning what happened. Someone shouts a spoiler in the hallway. You cover your ears and run. You avoid certain groups of friends. You can't check your phone because phones don't do that yet. You can't look it up online. You'll watch the rerun in a few months, or maybe a friend will lend you their recording. But until then, you need to preserve the surprise. This requires strategy. You develop a sixth sense for when someone's about to reveal plot points. You read body language, change subjects preemptively, physically leave conversations. The vigilance is exhausting. But Wednesday night, when you finally watch the episode, the payoff is extraordinary. Every twist hits with full force because you successfully protected your experience. This wasn't paranoia. It was information curation. You learned that some things are worth protecting, that delayed reward can be more satisfying than immediate knowledge, that discipline serves joy. Here's what's remarkable: you were practicing impulse control in a high temptation environment, resisting curiosity despite constant exposure to answers. Psychologists call this delayed gratification under social pressure. But for spoiler avoiders, it was just getting through the week. Research suggests that the ability to resist immediate gratification predicts long-term life success across multiple domains. Modern viewers frantically search for spoilers, reading endings before beginnings, unable to tolerate uncertainty for even hours. This wasn't control, it was self-preservation. Picture this: a lazy Saturday afternoon in 1990. You're 8 flipping channels out of boredom. You land on a show you've never seen before. It's a rerun from the 70s, dated clothes, older film quality, jokes that land differently. But something about it captivates you. You start watching regularly. Saturdays at 2 p.m, it's always on. You're watching episodes out of order, catching some twice, missing others entirely. Gradually, you piece together character relationships, running jokes, the show's internal logic. You're assembling a puzzle without seeing the box. Some episodes reference events you haven't seen yet. Some resolve tensions you didn't know existed. The experience is nonlinear, fragmentary, and deeply engaging. You're doing detective work, using context clues and repeated viewings to understand the complete picture. This wasn't confusion. It was pattern recognition. You learned to synthesize information from multiple sources, to construct meaning from incomplete data, to enjoy the process of discovery. Here's what's remarkable: your brain was building cognitive flexibility, the ability to understand systems without perfect sequential knowledge. Neuroscientists call this schema formation through distributed learning. But for rerun watchers, it was just weekend television. Experts recognize that encountering information out of order can deepen understanding, forcing active construction rather than passive absorption. Modern viewers start at Season 1, Episode 1, following prescribed paths. They never experience the satisfaction of puzzling through narrative fragments. This wasn't disorder, it was mental flexibility. Picture this: November 1996. A special episode has been advertised for weeks. Tonight's the night. You're 14, and 20 million other people are watching the exact same thing at the exact same time. Not similar things. Not related content. The identical episode, the identical moment. You're aware of this as you watch. Somewhere across town, your friends are seeing this too. Across the country, strangers are gasping at the same twist, laughing at the same jokes. You feel connected to this invisible audience, part of something larger than yourself. The experience is communal even though you're alone. When a shocking moment happens, you imagine the collective reaction happening simultaneously in millions of living rooms. This shared timeline creates a strange intimacy with people you'll never meet. You're all present in the same story moment together. Tomorrow, the entire culture will discuss it. This wasn't isolation. It was synchronous community. You learned that collective experience creates bonds, that simultaneity generates meaning, that being part of an audience is itself valuable. Here's what's remarkable: your brain was experiencing parasocial connection, feeling part of a community through shared attention rather than direct interaction. Sociologists call this temporal co-presence. But for weekly viewers, it was just the feeling of everyone watching together. Research suggests that synchronized cultural experiences strengthen social cohesion and individual sense of belonging. Modern viewers watch on personal schedules, fragmented across time zones and release dates. They experience content but not communion. This wasn't viewership, it was collective consciousness. Picture this: May 1998, after 6 seasons, your show is ending tonight. The series finale, you've known this date for months. You've prepared emotionally. These characters have been in your life since you were 9 years old. You've grown up with them, learned from their mistakes, celebrated their victories. In 90 minutes, it will be over forever. You sit down to watch with a knot in your stomach, anticipation and grief mixed together. Your family understands this is important. They watch with you, even your dad who never really got into the show. As the episode unfolds, you memorize details, the final jokes, the last time you'll see these faces. When it ends, you feel the weight of closure. It's sad and satisfying simultaneously. You're grateful it had a proper ending. The story is complete. You can let it go now. Tomorrow you'll talk about it with everyone who watched. For weeks, the culture will process this together. Then gradually, it will fade into memory. This wasn't just television. It was ceremonial closure. You learn that endings matter, that completion has value, that moving on is both painful and necessary. Here's what's extraordinary: your brain was practicing psychological closure, the process of integrating experience and releasing attachment. Psychologists call this narrative resolution and its emotional benefits. But for series finale watchers, it was just goodbye. Experts recognize that proper endings, in stories and in life, facilitate healthy emotional processing. Modern viewers often abandon shows mid-series, jumping to new content without closure, accumulating unfinished narratives. This wasn't an ending, it was integration, but some experiences cut deeper. Consider a winter evening in 1994. You're 12 years old. Your favorite show has just revealed a character death, unexpected, unfair, devastating. You're sitting alone in the living room after everyone else has gone to bed. The credits roll, but you can't move. Your chest feels tight. Tears stream down your face. This isn't a real person, you know that. But the grief is real. You've invested years of emotional energy into this character. You've imagined conversations with them, used them as a reference point for your own behavior, and now they're gone. You can't rewind and watch them alive. You have to carry this loss forward. Tomorrow at school, you'll find out everyone else is grieving too. You'll share the weight together. But right now, in this moment, you're alone with the reality that even fictional relationships end. That caring about anything means eventually losing it. That pain is the price of love, even parasocial love. This imprinted emotional authenticity, the understanding that real feelings don't distinguish between categories of experience. But that authenticity existed alongside something darker. You learned early that you can't control outcomes, that creators make choices you wouldn't make, that the world continues regardless of your preferences, that sometimes you invest deeply in things that end badly or don't end at all. That disappointment is inevitable and survival is mandatory. This created people who hold both truths, hope and realism, investment and detachment, passion and pragmatism, connection and boundaries. This complexity might be their most valuable inheritance. Let's return to a quiet Thursday evening. You're settling in for your show. The familiar theme song plays. The characters appear like old friends. For the next hour, nothing else matters. You're present, committed, patient. The episode ends on a cliffhanger. You smile, feeling that familiar pull of anticipation. 7 days until you find out what happens next. And somehow that feels exactly right. These people carry something the modern world desperately needs. They remember what it felt like to wait for things that mattered. They remember choosing carefully because they couldn't have everything. They remember piecing together stories from fragments and reruns. They remember the electric feeling of watching something simultaneously with millions of others. They remember that space between episodes where imagination lived. They're living proof that a resilience is built, not born. A competence comes from practice, not protection. Delayed gratification creates satisfaction that instant access cannot match. For the best gift isn't immediate answers, but the capacity to sit with questions. Community isn't built through convenience, but through shared temporal experience. In a world of infinite content consumed in isolation, they stand as evidence of another way, not perfect, not without costs, but a way that produced people who can commit to long-term narratives, tolerate uncertainty without panic, find joy in anticipation, make difficult choices between competing desires, and build meaning from constraint rather than abundance. They grew up in the era of appointment television, of VCRs and TV guides, of water cooler conversations and unmarked spoilers, of season finales that millions watched together. And somehow they learned to hold it all, the waiting and the payoff, the limitation and the creativity it sparked, the communal experience and the personal interpretation. They learned that the gap between episodes wasn't emptiness to be eliminated, but space where stories grew larger than their runtime, where patience transformed into anticipation, where constraint revealed what truly mattered.